What's going on, YouTube? This video is gonna be of me more or less just explaining why I'm going to be making a video probably every day, and why I started a channel in the first place. Mainly it's because of boredom. I have nothing else to do. Half of the country is on a labor strike right now. I am unemployed. It is very hard to get my ID because the DPS is absolutely empty right now. It's very hard to get an appointment anywhere. The country is pretty much collapsing at the moment. So I have nothing else to do. So I'll probably be making content every day until times are better, and probably, even afterwards, since I don't know, I'm just going to try this YouTube thing out. So I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm in rural Oklahoma. There's nothing to do out here. Yeah, life is overall hellish. It's a hellscape out here, in my opinion. You have the looming anxiety of potentially losing my house because I do not have a job. What if I can't finish off my I wouldn't call it rent, but I'm paying off my house to the previous owner. I wouldn't call it a mortgage. It's some backwards Oklahoma stuff. I don't know. It's all just so under the table out here. And I say that because whenever I moved out here from Texas, it was a huge culture shock. I knew Oklahoma was poorer than Texas, but not to this extent. It seems almost like a third world country out here. All the buildings out here are ultimately dilapidated or suffer some sort of damage due to neglect or maybe a tornado. That's what I thought at first when I moved out here. Was like everything was just ultimately. I thought all the damage was done by tornadoes, but that may be true. I don't know, but the little town that I live in, all the houses out here are very old. They're very worn. I imagine this is probably the state of most houses in poor areas. I'm kind of just rambling at this point. I mean, if you're watching this, I'm just going to be explaining my life right now, or just giving you the rundown on my life right now at the moment. I have hopes of getting a job somewhere. I kind of want to move back to Texas, and I have goals to do that. That's my end goal, is to move back to Texas eventually. So my first impression of life in Oklahoma was that it was poorer, and people are nicer out here. Very nice compared to people in Texas. People are very friendly out here. They apologize for no reason, if you're in like a supermarket or Walmart or something, like people will just be like, oh, like, I'm sorry I'm in your way. It's just people never did that in Texas. They just seem to have a general, like, a nicer disposition than what they would in Texas. People are, I think, happier out here. I kind of pick up on that. Is that people are happier, probably because the cost of living out here is a lot less than anywhere else. Even comparably to, like, the rural area of Texas. I bet that living in rural Texas is probably a lot more expensive than rural Oklahoma. So I guess the ease of living out here plays a role into why people are happier. I feel like in Texas, there's a constant pressure to survive, to where it's not really that like that out here. That's not really the case. Yeah, because in Texas, if you're not in school or have a very well-paying job, if you do not have like a well-paying job, you could easily find yourself homeless, very soon. As to where I don't think that's so much the issue out here in Oklahoma. And I say that because I feel like government programs are a lot more utilized out here by people. Probably because everyone out here is so poor. Like, people need help. As to where in Texas, people don't really want to help you because Texas is like it's an elitist state. Like, people in Texas think that they're amongst the rings of a New York City or New York State. I mean, California. So they really try to deter poor people from living there, which I feel like is a new phenomenon. It really wasn't that way when I was growing up in Texas. Believe it or not, Texas used to be a cheaper place to live. But increasingly so if you live in the DFW area, even on the outskirts, it's going to become more difficult to live there as taxes increase and they drive all the poor people out to the further outskirts. But that's probably the case everywhere, except for Oklahoma City. In Oklahoma, like, I feel like, from what I understand, the people who I've talked to tell me that not only is the rural area of Oklahoma pretty unstable and poor and economically in the red, so to speak, so is Oklahoma City. I had impressions that maybe since Oklahoma City was like a huge area, a huge metropolitan area, maybe the standard of living was higher, but from what I hear, my neighbor, he tells me no, that's not the case. That in fact, all of Oklahoma is pretty terrible. And I have been to Oklahoma City before, and that was the impression that I got as well. I don't know. I feel like my life has improved in some ways, but also declined in some ways. There are cons and benefits of living in a richer area and a poorer area. Living in Oklahoma, period, I believe If you have any kind of medical issue, like a dental problem or uh, any kind of health issue, the state tends to help you a lot easier than what they would in Texas. There, in Texas, it's just a lot harder to be poor if you're out there. Um, of course, uh, I don't know. And out here in Oklahoma, I don't know. It just feels a lot less less tame in a sense. I've noticed like a huge increase of people comparative to Texas who they just seem a lot more free spirited in a sense. There's a lot more like libertarian views out here compared to Texas. Texas seems like a strong Republican area, so where people out here not so much. I mean, you know, statistically, you could say that Oklahoma is more conservative than Texas because I don't believe that there is even a single Democratic county in Oklahoma, but that doesn't seem like the case when you're up here. People seem very liberal in the sense that I feel like there's a lot more drug use out here than compared to Texas. As Oklahoma, as you would know, is a state that has decriminalized marijuana usage, cannabis usage. I think we're experiencing like a huge cannabis industry rush at the moment. Like there's a dispensary almost every 10 miles it seems. So I guess the people voted for that, right? So I don't understand. Texas is very democratic as well in some places, or has a lot of Democrats living in Texas, but the culture just seems a lot more conservative in Texas compared to up here. So I don't know. It just goes to show that statistics really don't mean much. Um, I can tell you this. I do think that there is a larger opioid addiction issue in Oklahoma compared to Texas, by and large. Only because I think just there might be due to COVID and due to the state of the economy right now. I think Oklahoma is probably more depressing than what it usually is. Um, it's probably the case everywhere right now, but I think a lot of Americans, they were not suited, for this, especially people, who are. I just think the average American today is not very well suited for any kind of like hardship. Uh, Especially people who are not a part of that older generation, like the silent generation or the greatest generation. Those people lived through a time period that's very similar to the one now. Um, whenever my grandma was alive, she right before all of this COVID stuff happened, she died, and she was telling me, that the economy felt very similar to how it was when she was growing up during the Great Depression and like World War II, that era. And I think the unemployment rate at the time was like 13% or something, which I don't know what it was during World War II or the Great Depression. I think it was like 30 or something, but still pretty high. And I just feel like overall there's like this looming sense of anxiety and uncertainty that all Americans have right now. Um, yeah, I feel like also, well, I don't know. I don't know if I can speak about that in this video. I don't even know what issues YouTube will allow me to talk about on but that's just kind of what I wanted to talk about in this video, which is how I felt today. Just some thoughts. I'll probably be doing that a lot. Just uploading videos about my thoughts of the day and how I'm feeling that day. Just to feel like I'm talking to somebody. Because out here it's very lonely. There's no one to talk to other than my neighbors. But I feel like I'm at the age to where it's harder to make friends. I'm approaching 30, and people aren't so friendly to you whenever you're that age because they expect you to be at work, and they're just people at that age they aren't very sociable, really. My neighbor across the street, he's nice, but the problem is like he's not dumb. He's just slow. I think he might be on a spectrum of mental, the R word. But he's nice. I had nothing bad to say about him other than he does not wear a belt, and he just sags his pants, so you can always just see his ass all the time, which is pretty hilarious to me. He's so unself-aware. There's people out in the sticks. No one's ever told them, what's appropriate and what's not. It's just, I don't know. That's kind of funny to me. I feel like that's the case. How do you, get to be 40 years old and people have never told you, your whole existence is just inappropriate. I don't know. They don't pick up on certain social cues so easy. But you can't blame him for that. He did give me a used couch. But now I really don't want the used couch because it's falling apart because I put it in the backyard. And now I don't want it anymore. But the trash cans are not like the ones in Texas here. They will not pick up your trash if it's not in the trash can. So you can't put any used furniture or you can't put any trash next to the trash bin because they will not pick it up. Which sucks a lot. My neighbors, other than that, would be this preacher and his son who run a Pentecostal church, who, I might add, ask us to attend almost every time they see us. And I'll just say this, like, I would consider myself to be like a Baptist of some sort, but I tend to keep that to myself. That's the culture I was raised in. It's what I believe. And the Pentecostals, they have this thing where, like, they speak in tongues and they believed in this, like, works-based salvation thing, and it just, how do you tell them, like, that's everything you believe in is, like, not biblical. But that's for another video, I guess. I could say so much more about my Pentecostal neighbors, but I don't know what I could say here on YouTube other than I have reason to believe that they are addicted to prescription opioids, mainly because the head preacher there told me himself. But it turns out his son is a huge addict as well, which I just find funny for some reason. It just goes to show you the absolute state of rural America. It's not in good shape. I'm by no means am I talking down about these people, but it's true. It's true what I say. Yeah. The loneliness is so crushing out here in the middle of nowhere. So I guess that's it for now. I'm going on 22 minutes here. So, I guess bye for now. If I think of something else, I'll upload. And if you want to watch this for some reason, go ahead, leave a like or whatever. And if this channel takes off for some reason, I'll continue uploading. Alright, bye.